therapy project for a child with a learning disability. It focuses on children in the grades 1 through 5. I would begin by asking the students, how many of them do something at the same time every day? I would expect some hands. Maybe I'd hear answers like, go to school at the same time, or I get up at the same time. I would go on to ask what they do in their everyday routine that requires them to do it at a certain time, or it's always done at the same time. I would expect to hear things like eating lunch or breakfast or supper, going to school, getting up from school, or getting up for school, coming home from school. Is there anything else you do during your day that is done at the same time when you're not at school? I expect to hear things, again, like meal time, or if they have sports practices or things like that, or if they have church at the same time on the same day of the weekend, maybe on Sunday mornings. Today we're going to play a game that focuses on doing things at a specific time, and we're going to work on what time during the day certain things happen in our day. School is an easy example where things happen at the same time because for the most part every day has a schedule. So from say 9 to 9:30 it's social studies time or something along those lines. But first, before we play our game, we're going to begin by practicing reading a clock. I would have a clock drawn on the chalkboard or the whiteboard without the hands. I'll say a specific time and ask a student to draw, for instance, 6 o'clock, what the clock would look like at 6 o'clock. After they've done it, I'll ask the next student, and I'll let each student do it a couple times before we begin. I would assume that at this age that they already know how to read a clock, so just reading the clock would be a review for them. Then I would explain our game. Our game is called Beat the Clock, and it's taken from the book 50 Quick Play Language Games. What we have is the game board, and the game board would look like this, and I print it out and put it on the desk for the students to use. The first box, for instance, reads, what is something you do at this time of day? How the game works is this. The clocks are all cut out, these little clocks, and they all have a different time on them. And they say AM or PM in the corner. I would put these in a pile. The first student would roll the die, pick up his clock, move his marker, his man, as many spaces as he rolled. So if he rolled a 3, it would be, what is 1 hour past your time? So we have to look at his clock, see that it reads 7 p.m., and then tell me what is an hour past that time. If he gets the answer correct, his turn is over and the next person can go. If he gets the answer incorrect, he must move his man back 2 spots on the game board. The first person to get all the way to the end, to the little mouse hole on the end of the game board, is to be the winner. I would especially focus on keeping the students on task, making sure that when they're playing the game, they're doing what the rules ask of them so that we don't get too off track or too distracted with what's going on. We can stay focused on the project. I would also ask the students before we started to tell me the directions of the game so that I know they're on the same page as I am and we can all be focused on our goal. If this game is too hard for some students, there are a couple things I thought we could do. I could make the pile of clocks digital clocks so they wouldn't have to read the clock as it is and then they could play the game that way. I could also change what the squares say on the game board so they'd be easier for the child to play the game as well, because some of the questions are a little more detailed and a little harder for some students. I could also have the child make a list of things he does in the morning, a list of things he does in the afternoon and in the evening, so that his thoughts are focused and he knows what he does at that, in those time ranges. That would be easier to help him with the game as well. In the opposite way, if this game is too easy for students, I could change the game pieces to read things that would be a little more difficult. I could give them a time limit as to how long they have per turn. I could also have him pick up one of the digital clock pieces and then go to the board, or have a sheet full of clocks with no hands on it and have them draw that time that I suggested, or that they picked up, so that they would know exactly how it all works. During my project, I would also make sure to be praising and encouraging the students where it is appropriate, and encouraging them when they get off track to stay on track and keep on as our goals are for the day.